Thank you for coming. I think that this series that Lauren has come up with and that we're gonna create is really gonna, I think, shed some light on some topics that people don't always know where to turn to for some resources. And so I hope to provide those things for you. And just I hope that, again, it's going to create just more conversation and making sure that everybody is getting the information that they need. I've been teaching, like I said, for the 29 years, but I'm not one to stand up here and say, oh, I've got all the answers. I know everything, and this is how you should do it. And that's the way that I approach my class, too. I provide resources, I provide information, and it's up to the classes, it's up to the kids to do what they want to do. And that's what I'm going to ask of you as well. Some of the things that I'm going to have, you might look at, you might say, oh, that seems pretty elementary. I'm not sure if I really can use that. And that's okay. But everybody's going to have different abilities. Everybody's going to have different levels of comfort. And so just go along with it. If you can do that for me, I'd appreciate that. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and get started here. So like I said, I'm a teacher. I coach girls basketball, former football coach. I work in the weight room at the high school. But I also consider myself to be a very big financial literacy advocate. I'm an advisory member to the Governor's Council on Financial Literacy, which was created by Governor Walker. And it's something that I just love being a part of. And I'm hoping that Governor Evers will continue it. I meet with 3 or 4 times a year. And we've met with people from different businesses all across the state, members that are involved in it. And it was actually that council's efforts that got the state of Wisconsin to create a financial literacy standard and graduation requirement for the state of Wisconsin. So it's outstanding. Another thing that I'm really proud of too is I'm a fellow for an organization called Next Gen Personal Finance. And a lot of the resources that you're gonna see today are things that I've gotten from them. Their founder, Tim Ranzetta, had just a very interesting young period in his life where he got involved in things, investing in things, and really hit it big and made it really well. So his goal is to give back. And so every single material that he has on his website is free to teachers. And actually free to anybody, and I can share it with you guys and you can look at it too because there's some great activities besides the ones that we're going to be doing. But he has actually this last year pledged $25 million over the next 10 years to provide financial education to teachers so that they can get it out to their students. And it's just something that I'm very proud of. I'm a fellow for the 2018-2019 school year. Last summer I went to Palo Alto, which is where they're headed out of. And we met and went through some training and it just was fantastic. So again, a lot of the stuff that I do will be based on a lot of the things that they have given to us. So here's where I want to start with a question of the day. And this is something that Next Gen shares all the time too. And the question is, how can Facebook make you poorer? And if you think about that, we know, again, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff is great for that social interaction that we have, keeping in touch with everybody. But for your wallet, not so much. And so there's a whole concept here of keeping up with the Joneses, and here's an article. I'm just going to put it up here real quick, and we'll just highlight a couple of things in it. So roughly 4 in 10 adults with a social media account say that seeing other people's purchases and vacations on social media makes them look into a similar purchase or vacation. Does anybody deny that? And I think if we deny it, we're just faking it, right? Because we know that that's true. So that's one thing I want you to think about here just for a minute. And I want you to think of these questions. And I'm kind of hesitant to ask these out loud because I'm afraid some of it might be a little bit embarrassing. But if you want to give some, just think about these 4 questions here. And then we'll come back to them just a minute here. How has social media impacted your purchasing behavior? Name something that you bought after seeing it featured on social media. What is it about human psychology that makes us susceptible to wanting to buy something that we see on social media? And then we'll look together at number 4, some of the strategies. So just take a couple minutes. I know you got your little notebooks here. If you wouldn't mind just kind of answering those questions and seeing if you can come up with a couple things, and in a minute or two, we'll get some feedback from you. So I took the first step and I admitted, right, that it happened. Anybody else want to admit how social media has impacted?
I bought a sweater off of it. Yeah. Saw some advertising on Facebook for a sweater. I was like, I gotta have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All the yarn.
Yeah, then all the yarn. Yeah, that too.
And yarn. Anybody else? Yeah.
Well, I just said, like, you
talk about something, and then for like the next week you see an ad for it. I swear to God, my phone can like hear it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
I know, like I'll talk about it, all of a sudden you see an ad, and you're like, God, I'm like, well, I don't really need it. And, like,
Right.
the next day I'm like, well, maybe I'll just look at it. And like magically there's like a sale, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy it now.
And like you said, sometimes you don't think that you've searched or you've done anything, but it just shows up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
The algorithms are getting pretty good.
yes, very, very good. Yeah, Autumn, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's, for me anyway, I've noticed it's the advertising that is very specific and customized
Yeah,
to, you know, whatever maybe I've browsed or.
right. Yeah.
And I've actually purchased quite a bit. Well, I have on here, I got him a Valentine's Day gift that's coming up, and he doesn't know about that, but I got that, and we
Right.
were looking at social
Right.
media. We bought him a sweatshirt, and got a poster with our favorite song lyrics on it.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah.
All right. So again, we got to answer number 2 as well. But what do you think it is about human psychology that makes us susceptible?
Keeping up with the image crafting.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Anything else?
The joy of having something new.
Yeah.
Also the camaraderie. Social media disconnects us. So if someone does something and posts about it, and then you do that thing and post about it, you have this psychological connection to them. Like, yeah, we did that together, yeah.
Right. When you look at, you've got 500 or 1,000 friends on Facebook. Do you really have 500 or 1,000 friends? One thing when in my class, we talk a little bit about advertising, my very first unit, and one of the things that we really focus on is the fact about just the whole overall emotions. And when you play on those emotions, it really gets people kind of wrapped in and pulled in, and that's again where I think social media has done such an outstanding job. So again, some of the strategies to help mitigate the effect, one of the big ones that we're going to take a look at today obviously is examining what your needs and wants are, and then being able to put that down into some kind of an organized plan. So that's where we're going to kind of go from here. So this is just a little bit about needs and wants, and again, this might seem really simple, but I think it's a pretty good reminder of what the difference is.
Needs versus wants. Food and water, shelter, clothing, these are our basic needs. But do they really stop there? What do you really need? Do you need a phone? What about a smartphone? Do you need a tablet for school? Or a computer? Everyone is going to answer those questions differently because every person has different wants and needs. Just because you really want something, that doesn't mean you need it. So how do you determine what is truly a need and what is just a really big want? Try asking yourself some basic questions. If I didn't have this item, would I still be able to function in life and keep up with my commitments? Or will not having this item severely affect my life in a negative way? For example, if I didn't have a car, getting to work would be a major challenge. But does this mean I need a brand new car? Or will the dependable car I have work? After you've spent some time determining what in your life is a want and what is actually a need, you have to figure out how many of those wants you can actually afford. Because there's no way we can afford all the things we want at once. Give them a ranking and start saving.
All right, so just some, again, basic questions about needs and wants. When deciding if you should buy something, what can you ask yourself to determine if the item is a need or want? What were some of the factors?
Can you live without it?
Can you live without it?
Will it be a negative to not have it?
Yep, will it be a negative to not have it? Anything else? Like I said, this seems like such basic information, but I think really kind of going back and looking at it, and when you're making those purchases, really thinking about it, I think can have a pretty positive impact. So why do you think some people spend so much money on their wants despite the financial costs? Maybe we can go back to just the things we were just talking about before, right? It's going to make you feel better. You somehow feel it makes you look better, or that you're able to compete with the people around you, all right? Now, when we set this class up, one of the things we were talking about was your kind of your financial resolutions and things like that. So just real quick, think of 3 things that you definitely know that you need in the next month. And then 3 of the things that you feel are going to be wants that you'd like to have in the next month. And as you're finishing up, those are personally to you, so I'm not going to ask about any of those. But I do want to share, this is an article that you'll have access to too, how wants are going to sabotage, how wants will sabotage or can sabotage your budget. And I love just some of the points that it makes in here. This first one, cost-conscious shopping. One sure way to drain your budget is to shop with too little forethought. It's equally dangerous to make purchases based on too much emotion. In either case, you risk letting your wants take charge of your wallet. So to avoid falling into the I gotta have it trap, take some time to think while you shop and ask yourself, am I deciding to purchase this product because first, you saw an enticing advertisement, you needed to boost your spirits, are you angry with someone or something? You're trying to impress someone or change their feelings towards you. You want to be the first in your family or your neighborhood or your office to own it. Your spouse, child, or significant other person will be disappointed if you don't. Your relative, friend, coworker, or other influential person has one. Maybe it's because you love the brand name. You want to replace something that is still in good working order. I want to take advantage of a sale, not because I need the item. And again, if you answered yes to any of these questions, you're probably getting ready to indulge in a want. You're veering toward making an unnecessary and emotional purchase. So if that's the case and you plan to persist with the purchase, consider these questions. And I think these are really important ones. Can you afford it? How are you going to pay for the purchase? If you have to charge it or take out a loan, are you going to be able to afford the monthly payment that goes with it? Is it the right time to buy? Should you wait till the sale price fits within your budget? Is there a less expensive version that you could buy, or could you buy it used? Could you get it cheaper at some other retailer? How many hours of work would it take you to pay for that item? So I think those are some good questions to think about. And again, as you're trying to decide whether or not you want to make those purchases, is that going to, can that somehow swing or maybe prevent you or give you a little bit more thought in that whole purchasing process? Now, one of the, again, where this kind of leads us to then, and when Lauren came up with this session, the term budget just immediately jumped into my head. And I thought, that's really one of the things. We know that, probably 75% of Americans right now live paycheck to paycheck. And if that's the case, if people are struggling, how is the best way to make it when you've got a limited income? And budgeting really is the way to do it. You probably know by now that a budget is a useful way for you to keep track of your money, but what exactly makes it such a powerful tool? So there's an article here I'm going to bring up with 6 reasons why you need a budget. And as you're looking at the article with me, just consider these 2 questions. The first one, out of the 6 reasons that are provided, which of those reasons is the most important to you? And then despite those 6 reasons for keeping a budget, people don't have a budget. And again, why do you think that is? All right, so let's take a look at this one. So the first reason, it helps you keep your eye on the prize. Budget helps you figure out your long-term goals and help you work towards them. If you just drift aimlessly through life, tossing your money at every pretty shiny object that happens to catch your eye, how are you ever going to save up enough money to buy your car, take a trip, or put that down payment on a house? The budget is going to force you to kind of map out those goals. Second, it ensures that you don't spend money that you don't have. And one of the things that we'll be talking about in just a little bit here is something called a zero-based budget. And when you've got every dime that you are making accounted for, it's nice to know that you've got a plan for it. So it's going to ensure that you don't spend money that you don't have. The third one, it can lead to a happy retirement. Now, consider my challenge. I'm working with 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. And a big portion of what I do is telling them about retirement. And they look at me like, come on, Chrisler, seriously. Retirement is so far away. But then I start showing them that, if you can just find it in your personal budget to put this much away, what you're going to have by the time you retire. And plus, when I put the fear of God in them that Social Security is not going to be here, because a good possibility it isn't, or it's not going to look the same, or they're going to have to work till they're 75 in order to get it, then it starts to make sense. But once you start showing them the dollar amounts that they can make, it does help out quite a bit. But we know that the budgeting is going to help you do that too. The fourth one, it helps you to prepare for emergencies. And again, for the students that I work with, when there's an emergency, what do? Yeah, mom and dad are going to bail me out. And again, my goal is for them to be able to walk out of my class and to be able to make it on their own if they choose to, that they're going to have all the tools in order to do it. So what I share with my students for emergencies is you need to work as hard as you can to get $500 put away into a savings account for an emergency fund. Because $500 for them pretty much would take care of anything, most anything. Once they reach that goal, then I tell them, then push your goal to $1,000. And when you have that $1,000 put away, then push it a little bit further. But build that cushion that you have so you're not going to have to rely on some of the things that some of us have had to rely on, credit cards or loans or those types of things. So we know that budgeting can do that too. Number 5, it is going to shed light on bad spending habits. And one of the things that I'll ask you to do when you leave here, and one of the first steps of budgeting, is to keep track of your spending and your earnings for a minimum of a week, but it really is better for a month. And when I say keep track of everything, I'm talking every dollar you throw into the machine to get something to drink, every trip to Dunkin' to get your morning coffee or whatever. And the students always laugh because I tell them when they say, you really want us to write down everything? And I said, yeah, everything. And they kind of look at me and I just tell them, I said, look, if you're embarrassed to write it down and share with me, maybe you shouldn't be buying it in the first place. Okay, that's my dad coming up in me. But anyway, so we want to get those bad spending habits out of the way. And then finally, it's better than counting sheep. Because if you can go to bed at night and you know that your money is where you need it to be, it's doing what you need it to do, hallelujah, that just brings a whole nother piece to your life that a lot of people just simply don't have. All right? So I love this article. And again, you'll have a copy, you'll be able to see this one as well. So, zero-based budget. How many of you heard that phrase before? Okay. So I love Dave Ramsey because I kind of, my mom and dad were pretty old school, and I kind of love that tough love approach that he has. But I also think that there's some other ways that you can kind of balance it out too. So anyway, but this is just a real quick breakdown of what the zero-based budget is.
What is a zero-based budget? Well, let's define a budget first. Your average budget is a monthly estimate of income and expenses with a list of categories. In other words, it's just a plan for your money. At Ramsey Solutions, we recommend taking it one step further with a zero-based budget. The idea here is simple. The money that comes in minus the money that goes out equals zero, meaning you've told every penny exactly where it's going to go. Just like how you told that guy in traffic exactly where he was going to go. Now, making a zero-based budget isn't as hard as it sounds. Step 1, list your take-home pay for the month. Step 2, list all your expenses for the month, but start with these 5 categories: food, shelter, utilities, transportation, and clothing. The basics. You want to make sure your rent or mortgage is budgeted first before you start budgeting for something like your hot yoga membership. Jeff. Once the necessities are taken care of, move to step 3. List the rest of your expenses like haircuts, Netflix, date nights, plus all the stuff your kids need. Man, are kids really that expensive? Yep. Golly. Don't let life catch you off guard. Think ahead and plan for events or situations you need to save up for. Holidays, weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, chupacabras, you name it. You can even create a fund in your budget to put aside money every month so you're ready when that day comes. Christmas is on December 25th. Again. Don't act surprised, people. Now, if you work through every expense for the month and you still have $100 left, you haven't finished your budget quite yet. You've got to get Uncle Ben a job. Put it towards your debt, for example, or maybe buy something that can help you figure this money stuff out. But I can't do a budget because I'm bad at math. Well, lucky for you, there's an app for everything. There's like 5 of them just for finding the nearest bathroom. That's not a joke. Look it up. Get on your smartphone and download our free budgeting tool, EveryDollar, because no matter your end game, paying your way through college, getting out of debt, buying your first home, or even planning for retirement, your budget is the key to keeping it 100. And now you know.
So kind of what he was talking about is, you're going to see a little bit of an example here. Any of you familiar with Rachel Cruz? Rachel Cruz is actually Dave Ramsey's daughter. And she's kind of taken on the kind of younger teenager, young adult version of the budgeting part. And so here again is an article that you'll have, and this just again shows the information on making a zero-based budget. And we're going to get some practice in just a second here. So like they said in the video, the first thing that you need to do is you need to come up with what your monthly income is. And for some people, they say, well, this is really hard because I might work 2 days this week, or I might work 4 days this week, or whatever. It's all about estimating. So what I always tell people is when you're estimating your income, always be conservative when you're estimating your income. If you're not quite sure, always estimate it a little bit on the low side. And then on the flip side, when you're estimating your expenses, you're going to be a little bit more open that this might happen. So write down your monthly income. You can do it the old-fashioned way on a sheet of paper, or there is an app called Every Dollar. And I've used this, and it really is nice. And what they do is they actually send you monthly reminders, and it really is nice. And it's free, completely free. Your income should include paychecks, small business income, side hustles. And I love that word. I've just been hearing it over the last couple of years. But kids who are mowing lawn on the side, or doing some babysitting or whatever the side hustle is. Residual income, and of course it's all legal side hustles. That's all I'm talking about. Anyway, the residual income, child support, other cash that you bring in. If it's money and it comes in your household's bank account, it's income. Then you need to write down your monthly expenses. Before the new month even begins, write down every expense that you can think of that you're going to have. Your rent, food, cable phones, everything in between should be added to the list. Again, but be sure to start your budget with the 4 walls. That's food, shelter, utilities, basic clothing, and transportation. This is where, again, I strongly encourage, I guess if you'd sneak it in somewhere in here, would be to do this for, kind of keep track of what you have spent money on over the last month, so that you get an idea where your money is going. Because once you've done that and you've created that list, it's a whole lot easier to create, first of all, your categories that you're going to need, and then you're going to have some pretty good idea of what you're going to spend. Because we can all kind of estimate what we spend on gas in a month, but until you just write it down, I think it's going to make a whole lot more sense. All right? Then any seasonal expenses that you might have, Christmas, those kind of things. And then all you're going to do, you're going to subtract your income from your expenses, and you want it to equal 0. So again, I say it up here, it sounds really easy, but I'm going to show you that it's actually pretty easy. So in your folder, you have a worksheet that I use. And it says Budget Basics on the top of it. And on this one, we have Josh. Josh is he's decided to create and follow a budget. So we're going to use the information that he has here to complete the items as directed. He takes home $1,155 a month, and he has the following estimated expenses for March. He's got his car payment, he's got donations to his church, his dad's birthday, dry cleaning, entertainment, gas and electricity for his apartment, glasses, he had to get a new prescription. He spends $100 on groceries, $100 on meals out, $200 on rent. He has an emergency fund set up, or savings with 50% of the emergency fund. So he's got $150 put in that, so $75 is going to go into his emergency fund, $75 into his savings. He's got subscriptions of $10 and a telephone bill of $25. Now I know some of those dollar amounts might not be very realistic, but at least it gives you an idea of how to do it. So the first thing I want you to do, I want you to take a couple minutes, and I want you to put these expenses into this budget sheet that you have there. All right? So again, the first one, pretty easy. $75 for emergency fund, $75 for the savings account. Then if you move off to the right where it says total savings, you'd have $150 there. Now, if you jump ahead real quick with me though, down at total savings and expenses, on that line that should be $1,155. His total income is going to be $1,155, and the difference is 0. So this is your zero-based budget. So put things in there where you think that they should go. All right. So this is where I put things. We had the $150 in savings, so $75 to the emergency, $75 to the savings account, $200 rent, $150 for his installment loan for his car loan. So it meant that he had total fixed expenses of $350. Food, $200, utilities, $50, clothing, $20, gas and maintenance of his car, $75, $150 for his glasses, $100 for entertainment, $10 for personal, $50 for gifts and contributions. So total flexible expenses of $655. Now, I probably should have mentioned the difference between the fixed and flexible, but I hope that everybody knows that, right? Your fixed ones are the ones that are going to happen every single month, due at the exact same time. The flexible ones are going to be ones that vary in amount and they vary in frequency. What's probably a more accurate term than flexible expenses is there actually probably is a third category, and that would be recurring expenses. Recurring expenses like your utilities, where you don't know exactly how much they're going to be every month, but you got a roundabout idea of how much they're going to be. You know you're going to have to put gas in your car every single month, but you don't know exactly how much you're going to put in. But for this one, we just leave it as flexible. So the 150, the 350, the 655, that gives us that total of $1,155. He has a total income of $1,155, which makes a difference of zero. So every penny he has is spoken for. And that's what the zero-based budget is all about. Now, the reason why I really, really like this, and again, I'm going to give you one more little activity to work on here in a second, is that once you get this down and get this established, it's kind of, I'm kind of a competitive person, so it's just kind of like every month, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make this, this is going to be what I'm going to do. It's kind of like the very first time I ever balanced my checkbook. And the next month, if it balanced, I was like, yes, I can't believe, and then I'd be 3 months in a row and 6 months in a row, and then finally you screw up, and then you got to go back and fix it. And then you start your count all over again. But what I love about this is once you get this down and you get in the habit of doing this, let's say that there's going to be something that gets thrown at you, and that's what's on the next page. Because of shortage of parts where he works, the factory is going to be shut down for 5 days in April. So as a result, his monthly take-home pay is going to be reduced to $860. Now, to a lot of people, they look at that $1,155 being reduced to $860 and think, how the heck am I going to manage? How am I going to make ends meet during that particular time? So what I'm going to ask you to do is create the next month's budget using $860 as his total income. And then, again, total savings and expenses is going to be $860 as well. Now, how do we do that, or what steps do we take first? Well, the easiest thing is to go back and look at his previous expenses. If we look back here, is he going to have to make his car payment? Of course, he can't get away with not making that. Church donations? I always tell people that's between you and God. I'm not going to get in there, so that's up to you. It's not going to be Dad's birthday again, so you're going to save $50 or $30 there. Dry cleaning, can you do without it? Reduce it, who knows? Entertainment, and this is always one place where I talk to the students and say, I'm just going to cut my entertainment. Let's be realistic, come on. I mean, this budgeting is not supposed to be killing you. It's not supposed to tear you apart. It's not supposed to make you feel like you're constantly going without anything. So I tell them, look for other places to cut first. Try to leave this here and see if there's other places where we can make up for that. If we have to reduce it a little bit, we can reduce it a little bit. Gas for his car, again, that could be reduced because he's not going to work for 5 days. We know that's going to have to be paid. He's not going to need his glasses again. So he's saved $150 right off the top. Groceries and meals out. Maybe you're going to not have so many meals out. You might have to bump up the groceries a little bit, but you're probably not going to have to bump it up as much as you deduct from your meals out. We know he's got to pay his rent. And then we get to the next one. And I'm very adamant about this. The very first thing I want you to write, 75 into your savings and 75 into your emergency fund. I'm not going to let you leak out on that for that month. Because that's another place where people say, oh, it's so simple. I'm just simply going to not save this month. Well, then next month, guess what? It doesn't hurt so bad. And the next month, it doesn't hurt so bad. And you just start forgetting about it. I don't want you to do that. I want that savings, that emergency fund part to be a permanent part of your budget, okay? So that you gotta leave. Subscriptions, I think that really depends on what it's for. If it's, I know $10 wouldn't be your cable, but let's say it was a cable bill. Are you gonna cut your cable for 1 month and then have to reinstall it the next? Probably not. So again, look for other ways. But see if you can get that second month to balance out to $860. For some subscriptions now, things like Hulu and Netflix and all those, some of those you can suspend for a month and say, I'm just not going to have it for this month, and then they'll reinstall it for free. So just definitely want to make sure that you find out what those are going to be for the month. How's everybody doing? We getting it to work out? What was the main area that you looked to cut? I mean, obviously the glasses one, right? So we know that 150 is gone right there. But what other places did you look at making some changes in?
Clothing and food.
Clothing and food? Okay.
I dropped the eating out and entertainment a little.
A little bit, okay. Again, stuff that you probably can live with, right? So when you look at it from this perspective, and this I love sharing because I think it proves just how valuable knowing where your money is coming from and where your money is going to. It just really makes, I think, a big deal. In your packet or in your folder that Lauren handed you, this I think is just an outstanding way to start getting your budget in order, first of all. Whether you decide to go with an app, some people still just want to do a paper, they want to have a notebook or whatever. This is a great format that you can use where you can see what you're budgeting for the month, and then to the other side you write down what you actually spent on it. And so from month to month to month to month, you can make the adjustments as you need to. And I really think that that's going to help you out a ton. Okay, but like I said, the other thing too are the apps. You're just punching information into the apps, and that app is adding it up for you. It's displaying it for you. You can get it on your phone. You can actually have it available so that you got on your laptop or your personal computer too, and you can print sheets out. You can do whatever you need to. So this is really going to help you a bunch. Okay, any questions on this? Most important thing though, you just got to sit down. You got to start. You got to sit down, just make a commitment and say, okay, tonight I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start laying this stuff out, and I'm going to see where I'm at. And then it gets easier and easier and easier. All right, let's move on here. Here's just a couple, the last part here, as we're kind of closing on the last 10 minutes here, is just some of what I consider just to be some other helpful hints that go along with budgeting and managing your money as well. The 50-20-30 rule, if you've heard of this before, you put 50% towards your fixed expenses. Those would be the things like your mortgage, your rent, your utilities, insurance, food, living expenses, those kind of things. Try to put 20% into savings. Again, to cover your savings, goals that you have, your emergencies, those kind of things. And I really like the fact that most resources that are out there now are leaving a fun section. They're leaving an entertainment section. Life is to be enjoyed. And instead of feeling like you're going without all the time, I think budgeting really gives you kind of that empowerment to say, well, I planned for this. And this is something that I can do. And this is something I should do because life is going to be a whole lot more enjoyable if I have this. A couple other concepts I wanted to share with you. So what happens if you start putting this budget in place and you're realizing that you're still not catching up, or you still feel like you're kind of overwhelmed with maybe some debt that you've accumulated and those kind of things. Have you heard of the debt snowball before? Another Dave Ramsey concept, okay? What Dave Ramsey says is you take any bill that you have, credit card, loan, or whatever, and you list them all down on a piece of paper. And his idea is that what you're going to do is the very first one that you're going to go after is the smallest one first, the smallest debt that you have. And you're going to focus everything that you can on it. If that means making minimum payments to the rest of them, you're going to make minimum payments to the rest of them. You're going to pay this off. Once you've got that paid off, just the confidence, the emotion that puts on you, I accomplished this. Big attaboy, attagirl moment, right? And then you take that money that you've been spending there, and now you roll it into the next one, and you attack the next smallest one. And the next one, the next one, the next one. If you ever check out Dave Ramsey's website, he has people that have accomplished unbelievable things. They've had huge amounts of debt. And they've used these approaches. And when they get done and they paid off their last debt and they're debt-free, he invites them to come on to his radio show. And he has them do a debt-free scream. And it is one of the coolest things ever. And you hear their stories, it's awesome. There's some people, though, that believe in something called the debt avalanche. Anybody heard of this one before? So the debt avalanche is, instead of worrying about your smallest bill, they say that you should be worrying first on
the highest interest rate.
Yeah, the highest interest rate, because they say mathematically it makes more sense to go after that one because it's going to save you in the long run in the interest. Okay? Which one is better? I don't know. You're going to get a link to an article that compares the two of them. And honestly, I don't think that there is a right or wrong answer to it. I think it's what you feel most comfortable with. If you're a person that likes that feeling of accomplishment right away, I think the debt snowball is really your way to go. If you've got the math mind and you want to see that part taken care of first, I think the avalanche works the best. The emergency fund, I already mentioned this earlier. I think, again, for everybody, no matter what your age is, your first goal is $500. Try to get $500 put away for yourself, somewhere that it's there. You blow a tire, you got to take the car in the shop or whatever, you've got some money there that you can tap into so you don't have to put on a credit card or take out a loan or those types of things. Then just slowly try to build that up. I think that's some really good advice that people can follow. The envelope budget is another one. And for people, some people, they really, really like this. Instead of just writing things down, what they will do is they'll take and they will either write checks or they'll take cash and they'll label budgets for their different budget categories that they have. And so when they get their paycheck, the certain part or the certain amount that they need for that particular category goes into that one. And then when that bill becomes due, they go ahead and they take it out. Or if it's groceries, you go in there, you take what you need for groceries for that trip, and then you've got the money in there. So that's something that people really like as well. Just kind of a tangible thing. You can see it. You see your categories. You've got it in a desk somewhere. You got it somewhere that you can see it all the time. Then the short-term savings plans. This is no criticism on banks or anything like that, because I think banks are great places to put our money. We know that right now what we're earning in our savings accounts isn't going to be anything that's going to make us wealthy. It's not going to make us rich. And I don't think really that's the purpose behind it anyway. I think what's great about it is you've got it in a place, it's there, it is earning something, but it's safe and it's secure. Instead of putting it in your desk drawer, instead of putting it under your mattress, instead of whatever, it's there. And when I talk about the short-term plans, one of the things I always like to talk about too is direct deposit. I know a lot of us don't have choice now with direct deposit anymore. It just automatically happens. But I still have some students, and before, when my mom was working, she never ever wanted direct deposit because she wanted actually to come to the bank. She wanted to see the people in the drive-thru or in the lobby and talk to them. But for students, I think it's great because I'll ask the students, when you're driving up to the drive-thru and you've got your paycheck in your hand, you might have every single intention on doing the right thing with it. But when you get to the window, what do you normally say? Cash it, please, right? And so if you can do this where you can actually set up your your plans, I'm going to put money into my account because it's going to go for this particular goal. I'm going to direct some of my direct deposit to go directly into that account. I think it really makes a lot of sense. All right. And then, of course, the last question, where do credit cards fit in? I love Dave Ramsey's approach. I love where he says, cut them all up. You don't need them. You don't want to use them. I think in this day and age, I think that's just not necessarily a reality. If you've got a lot of money like he does, yeah, I think it's great. But I think when we go back to those questions that we asked ourselves earlier about, this purchase that we're going to put on this credit card, is this something I really have to have right now? Is this really the right way that I want to pay for it? Is this the way that I can afford it? That really is what you want to do. Again, my goal, because I'm dealing with students who are going to be getting credit cards for the first time, the goal is just never put anything on there that you can't pay off in the month. And I think that really, it's maybe easier said than done, but I think if I pound it in their heads enough, maybe they'll get it, and maybe they'll stick to that one. All right? But bottom line is, when it comes to those credit cards, if you've got the debts on there, consider one of those methods, the avalanche or the debt snowball, to try to take care of those as best that you can. And then finally, these are some of the resources that you're going to have with the presentation. I think Lauren's got some of them on the sheet, or you're going to share this electronically with them as well?
Presentation.
Okay, perfect. So you're going to have, again, that video on the debt snowball, and there's actually, this is from one of his blogs too, so there's some text that goes along with it. There's that article I told you about comparing the snowball versus the avalanche. Dave Ramsey, his big program that you saw, the Financial Peace University, he has what they call his 7 baby steps towards becoming debt-free. And that is something that it really is good. There's some great information in there. Not only is it good information, but he's very motivational. Just a really good guy to listen to. More about the envelope budget. The other game that I think that you guys really would enjoy, students love this. It's called Spent. And if you go to Next Gen Personal Finance and you scroll through there, actually you can go to this link, but they've got an interactive game and it's called Spent. And it's basically living paycheck to paycheck. and you click on it, and you pick a job, and you carry that job over the course of the month, and it's really, really cool. So just to kind of give you an idea of what, what people go through. And then the last thing that I have on here is your quick guide to your emergency fund. Some more stuff from Dave Ramsey. Okay, so a lot of resources, a lot of things for you. I don't know if it was anything earth-shattering or anything like that, but I hope that this will at least maybe get you in that position now where you think, yeah, this is the kick I needed, this is the push I needed. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start putting some of this stuff into play. Yeah, and one last thing I was thinking about the zero-base, because the question I get sometimes is, okay, so we set the zero-base budget up, but at the end I've got money left over. What do I do with it then? Savings, or attack the debt, whatever you need to. Yeah, do the happy dance. I'm not going to dance for you, so I won't show you what my happy dance looks like. But anyway, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming in, and look forward to hopefully seeing you next time. All right.